Good morning, dear students. I am Dr. Mangala Kumari BS, Assistant Professor in English, GFGC Puram. In this video, I am going to talk about Mirror of Innocence, your fifth lesson prescribed for third semester BSc, Bengaluru North University. This is our first video regarding the lesson Mirror of Innocence. Mirror of Innocence is written by Perumal Murugan. Okay, so here, as usual, I'm going to club two PPTs in this video, our first session and second session PPTs. So in the first session, you are going to see your recapitulation of your previous knowledge and introduction to the author, introduction to the lesson, and intention of the author, and of course, recapitulation. Okay, so with this, you are going to learn short story as a literary genre, and you will develop your short story reading, especially the skill of story reading, interest of story reading will be developed in you, and you're also going to enhance your functional writing skills, and you're also going to enhance your imaginative power. Okay, and you will definitely increase your interest, you will be curious in language learning. Okay, and short story writing is an art. Okay, so many of you may develop the art of short story writing. Okay, so before we go to the introduction, let us test your previous knowledge. Okay, so try to answer, try to think over a few points. First one, is literature a reflection of life? Literature definitely reflects life. Okay, so it is the mirror of life. So writers, whatever they see, whatever they experience, okay, and whomever they meet, they are going to put forth in terms of writing. What memories of childhood do you still cherish? Because this lesson is going to talk about the childhood behavior, tantrums and crying and whatever you do when you were a child. Okay, so it is going to reflect those things. That is why if you remember any childhood memories that you are going to cherish throughout your life, you can recall them. Recalling them, you can enjoy. Okay, how do you define childhood? Innocence, and stubbornness, crying. Okay, and what to say, irritating the parents, all those things. Okay, so it is left to your creative mind, it is left to your imagination. You can go on expanding the list of adjectives related to childhood. Child is a symbol of innocence. We have heard a lot about childhood's innocence, and it is also simplicity. Children are so simple, they get happiness out of small petty things, right? So that is simplicity, and they are also lack of knowledge. And they are pure as well, and of course stubbornness, tantrums are there. Okay, so these are the adjectives that can be associated with childhood, and if you say, if you agree with this, you can say yes with me. And when do children show tantrums? When they definitely don't get anything what they want, whatever it is, however high it is, however small it is, however petty it is. If they don't get anything, definitely they land themselves into tantrums. And the parents of infant child, especially small children, sometimes spend sleepless nights. Okay, we have seen in almost all households parents spending their sleepless nights with their infant crying. Okay, and you must have seen all these things in your neighborhood or in your own family. Okay, try to remember those things, because our lesson Mirror of Innocence is going to reflect all those things, right? And now let us go to introduction to lesson. Mirror of Innocence is an endeavor to understand short story as a literary genre. Okay, we are going to learn short story in the beginning, at the outset, a short story as a literary genre. Okay, it's a type of literature. Short story genre is a type of literature, and so short story is a literary genre, and you're going to learn the definition of short story, and childhood's innocence and stubbornness you will get acquainted with, the importance of a small sugar container. Okay, so mirror of innocence throughout the story revolves around a small sugar container called Upukundan. Okay, so children's, especially the child's tantrums, waking up at night for their interesting objects, remembering them, wanting them at that wee bit hour, and which seems to be very mean and petty in adults' point of view, but in children's point of view, it is everything. So in that is quite common among children. The parents' frustration, tiresome job for taking care of the kid. Okay, all these things you are going to see in this lesson, in this short story. And in the middle of this, husband and wife's tendency of fighting. Okay, this is quite common in almost all the families, especially in South India, right? So for the sake of children, parents fighting each other because they get irritated. Okay, so that happens in almost all the families. So that you are going to be acquainted with. And the mother-in-law. Okay, so mother-in-law and daughter-in-law's unobtrusive, latent competitive proving of superiority. Okay, mother-in-law and and daughter-in-law's complexities. Okay, so in proving who is superior, who is inferior. So that also can be seen in the lesson. So these are all the highlights of the story. Now let us go to definition of a short story. What is a short story? You have already heard that short story is a literary genre. And what is it? We can define short story in this way. A short story is a piece of prose fiction. Short story is a piece of prose fiction that typically can be read in one sitting and focuses on a self-contained incident or series of linked incidents with the intent of evoking a single effect or mood. That was the definition of the short story. Let us see one more definition of a short story. Short story is a work of fiction, of course, that focuses on one important event in the lives of small number of central characters. So number of characters are less in short story. In the name itself tells you that it's short story. Okay, so number of characters will be less, and canvas also will be limited, and it can be read in one sitting and finished. Okay, so that is a short story, right? It's a prose fiction. It can be read and finished in one sitting, and a small number of characters will be there, and the canvas will be very limited. So that is the definition of a short story. Now let us go to Indian English short story writer, Indian English writers and Indian English short story. So Indian English short story is the body of work by writers in India. Indian English short story is the body of the writers who live in India, okay, who write in English language, living in India, who write in English language, and whose native language could be one of the Indian languages. Okay, so that is called an Indian short story. Indian English short story. Okay, Indian English short story is the body of the writers, is the body of the work by the writers who live in India, writing in English, but their mother tongue will be one of the Indian languages, right? So that is Indian English writing. And its repertoire encompasses a wide variety of themes. Its repertoire, the collection of Indian English short story, encompasses, it covers a wide variety of themes, right? So, the writers who write short stories in English and whose native language could be one of the Indian languages are called as Indian English short story writers. Okay, and Of course, it covers variety of Indian experience by the writers reflecting the diversity of India. India is diverse, okay? Unity in diversity. You must have heard, right? So India is very diverse in religion, language, land, in every aspect. So it's a great opportunity for the writers to reflect this variety, right? And that is why Indian English short story covers variety of Indian experience by the writers. The precursors of short stories, are legends, mythic tales, folk tales, fairy tales, fables, anecdotes, etc. These are the precursors. Okay, later short story got developed on that basis, and so of course, Indian English short story has been the reflection of Indian tradition and Indian culture. So if you read Mirror of Innocence, you will come to know how Indian it is. Many modern Indian short stories of different Indian languages are translated to English by the translators. So in that way, translation work is going on ever since. Um, and many languages are there in India. Many language writers are there, and those writers' works have been translated to English. Okay, and the modern short story developed in the early 19th century. Okay, remember students, in the early 19th century, modern short story got developed by Indian writers. Who are those writers? Let us see. Examples, the list of examples we are going to see now. Examples of Indian English writers, short story writers. Rabindranath Tagore. Okay, so you can remember, you can recall Rabindranath Tagore. He published more than 150 short stories on the lives of poor, oppressed, such as peasants, women, and villagers under colonial misrule and exploitation of them, etc. Okay, those are the themes of Rabindranath Tagore's short story. And next, R.K. Narayan. You must have recalled R.K. Narayan. So you have his short story, The Roman Image. Okay, you can recall the Roman Image here. R.K. Narayan is one of the well-known short story writers from India, and the prolific Indian author of short stories, Premchand. Okay, Indian short story, especially Premchand, is very prolific in Hindi, right? He pioneered the genre in Hindi, Hindustani language, and he's called as the master of short story, right? And one more equally popular short story writer in Urdu language, that is Saadat Hasan Manto. Okay, he is also called as the master of the short story in Urdu language, right? And he is very popular for depth, irony, and sardonic humor in his writing. Next comes Arvind Adiga. Arvind Adiga is a writer, journalist. He won 2008 Man Booker Prize for his first novel, The White Tiger. You must have heard of The White Tiger. It is also filmed. Okay, and he published his short story collection, Between the Assassinations, right? And his works are marked by linguistic and thematic density. He weaves complex narratives, multiple narrators into his tales. Okay, next, Amit Chowdhury. He is a professor in University of East Anglia, published his book Calcutta, 2 Years in the City, which offers a passionate portrayal of the city Calcutta. Okay, and next, Jhumpa Lahiri. Okay, students, I am going to give you the list of Indian English writers, because being a student of India, you should know, while learning English language, especially short story, you should know number of writers are there from our country. So that is why you should have the collection, best collection of the writers and their writings. That is why I am going to give you the list of writers from India. Jhumpa Lahiri. Jhumpa Lahiri is an Indian American writer who focuses much on the Indian diaspora in her work. Diaspora, an Indian living in foreign country. Okay, she, as an Indian living in America, she reflects her life as a diaspora. Okay, her debut short story collection, Interpreter of Maladies, won 2000 Pulitzer Prize Award. Okay, her writing is characterized by plain language. She uses plain language, characters who are often Indian immigrants to America. Okay, and the details of immigrants' psychology and behavior, all that. So she reflects overall Indian diasporic life, and she draws from her own experience sometimes in some books. Her common themes are knowledge, fantasy, culture, identity, guilt, okay, and responsibility, etc. Interpreter of Maladies by Jhumpa Lahiri is a simple short story about a family on vacation in India. Okay, so if you have interest, if you become curious in reading these things, you can read literature. You will understand life better. Indian Australian writer Arvind Adiga has published short stories like The Sultan Bateri, Smack, Last Christmas in Bandra, The Elephant, etc. These are the books by Arvind Adiga. Okay, his common themes are religion, hypocrisy, feudal system, the place of women in the society, poverty, hunger, exploitation. These are the variety of themes dealt by Arvind Adiga. Okay, so now let us go to Perumal Murugan. Okay, Mirror of Innocence has been written by Perumal Murugan, who is also an Indian short story writer. Okay, Perumal Murugan is living in the midst of us. He is our contemporary writer. He is still alive. Okay, so he is an English professor. Perumal Murugan is one of the prominent writers in Indian literature. He is a novelist, short story writer, and a scholar as well. He writes basically in Tamil language. He is a professor of Tamil in a government arts college in the place called Namakkal in Tamil Nadu. He is a controversial and commercially successful writer. Okay, and he has written around 6 novels, 4 short story collections, 4 anthologies of poetry to his credit. Novels translated to English and have become famous by Perumal Murugan are Seasons of the Palm, Current Show, One Part Women, etc. These are the books by Perumal Murugan, especially novels. He brings marginalized characters, poor people, exploited people, the people who are deprived of basic things and other luxuries. Those are marginalized characters, marginalized people. He brings marginalized characters to the center and depicts them with a touch of humanity and sympathy in most of his books. Students, this was our first PPT. Okay, first part of the video now has been finished, and let me recap our first session. Okay, first part of our video. In the first part of our video, we saw short story as a literary genre. We also saw the definition of the short story. Perumal Murugan as a novelist, short story writer, and a scholar, and he writes in Tamil language. He's also a professor in Tamil and a controversial commercial writer. He has written some 6 novels, 4 collections of short stories, and 4 anthologies of poetry. Remember these things. His novels have been translated to English. Okay, so which are Seasons of the Palm, Current Show, and One Part Woman. Okay, these are the novels by Perumal Murugan. And his characters are marginalized characters with a touch of humanity and sympathy. Okay, so, and we also saw other Indian English writers like Amit Chaudhary, Arvind Adiga, Jhumpa Lahiri, R.K. Narayan, Rabindranath Tagore, etc. Okay, this was our first PPT. Now let us go to second PPT. In the second PPT, we are going to we are going to know more about Mirror of Innocence, the short story, and where you are going to get acquainted with the innocence of an infant, and you're also going to know about the importance of patience, tolerance in one's life, and stubbornness of stubborn character of a child, and how simple petty object becomes a thing of importance for children, for infants especially. And you're also going to get acquainted with frustration, irritability of the parents by the children, and typical characteristics of an infant and its tantrums with parents. All that you will learn through this story. And you're also going to learn the importance of forbearance and enduring virtues of elders regarding the well-being of their children. Okay, so especially at the end, you're going to see the contentment and pleasure of parents that lie in the pleasure of their offsprings, of their children. Okay, so now this in this second PPT, later part of our video, you are going to see the contextual interpretation of the short story. Contextual interpretation of the short story I'm going to do now. Okay, so some points which are there, some highlighted points which are there in the short story are: a small sugar container plays a very important role in the short story. It becomes a central object of a child's attention, and the story has been narrated in a simplistic, captivating style. The story is based on a real life incident involving Perumal Murugan's own daughter. Okay, so it is a real life story. His own child, the girl child who cries, who's is so stubborn in the story, is Perumal Murugan's own daughter. A child normally who won't wake up at that particular night, wakes up and disturbs everyone. Okay, and she would normally wet the bed, she would wet her underwear, she would wet the blanket and clothes of those who sleep beside, and those clothes stink urine. Okay, so but that baby never wakes up in spite of doing all this, wetting the bed, wetting the underwear, wetting the clothes of the people sleeping next, and making them stink urine. Still, this baby normally never wakes up. But that particular midnight, she wakes up for one important thing. What is that? Sugar container. She is 2 years old, baby. She will grow up and give up the habit. Okay, so that was the opinion of the elders, right? So she will wet the bed now. That is why when she grows up, she will give up that habit. So that was how father, mother, and granny thought. Okay, and but that midnight, she put others through an ordeal, shaking them with her cry. Okay, she's all of a sudden in the midnight, she gets up and starts crying. She sat up, cried steadily, sleepily, without making a lot of noise. She didn't make a lot of noise, but she's crying steadily, constantly. All the elders were anxious, and they started questioning the baby. She's of 2 years, and she's 2 years old, and she cannot answer, but they are questioning. Elders are questioning her. Child didn't reply. Wailing was only the response. Party. This is actually written in Tamil language originally, later got translated to English. That is why some Tamil words you are going to see here. Party is a Tamil word which means grandmother. Okay, Party went to her room. The child is crying in the midnight, and her grandmother went to her room. Party went to her room, brought a tin of holy ash, applied it on the child's forehead. See, this is so Indian, students. In this kind of incidents, you will see in any kind of households in India. Okay, especially the elders, they believe in God, right? And holy ash brought by the brought from the temple, that will be there at home, and she's going to apply holy ash on the child's forehead. Okay, and she wanted to put that ash, also a pinch of ash, holy ash also into the child's mouth, but child didn't open its mouth, and it is crying and crying. It didn't yield. Okay, it didn't accept the holy ash. Party went through reasons why this child is crying. Why is this child crying a lot in this hour, especially in this untimely hour of midnight? Okay, child must be afflicted by evil spirits. That's what normally elders think, especially grandmothers think in that way. Most probably some evil spirit, some nazar, okay, it must have afflicted, attacked the child. And she, while saying this, she gives a sideway glance towards her daughter-in-law, meaning that daughter-in-law is not at all responsible. Irresponsibly, she leaves the child go anywhere in the afternoon hours, etc. Afternoon hours especially is very what to say, ominous for the children, infants. And that was the time when I mean, that is the correct time when evil spirits attack the babies, infants, in that way. That these are all the beliefs, Indian beliefs. Child's father thought in a different way. He thinks in that way, in this way, she must have seen something scary in her dreams, that is why she is crying. He thinks, it is his opinion. And see, they are all thinking in their own ways, but child didn't stop crying, and it didn't reply also, because she is just 2 years old, she cannot speak. Child's mother, she thinks in this way, the baby must be thirsty. Do you want water? Want to pee? So she starts asking the questions to the baby. The baby didn't reply. Crying is the only answer. Her mother burst into tears at last. She's ill, perhaps. Okay, the baby is crying and crying. Mother got so worried and she burst into tears, and she thinks that she must be ill. That is why she is crying. The baby is crying. The baby must be ill. She thinks in that way. Mother thinks in that way. Look at the different ways of thinking. Father thinks that the baby must have seen some scary things in her dream. Mother thinks that she must be ill, she must be thirsty. Okay, most probably she wants to pee. Okay, and grandmother party thinks some evil spirit must have afflicted the baby. Okay, so all the three elders touched the baby's forehead and neck for the temperature. Could it be latent fever? No temperature. Okay, temperature is normal. Then they think that could it be latent fever? The fever inside. Okay, latent fever. All were so anxious because the crying is continuous, right? Child's father was so annoyed. He was so tired, weary, and kept his sobbing and turmoil, the disturbance, all under control within. He suppressed all that within. The mother, she burst into tears, and she started now asking gently, bringing the baby's face, bringing her face close to the baby's face, and asked in cajoling tone, tell me, Kana. Kana is loving, affectionate words that mother uses to her children. Okay, so to her child, Kana is a Hindi word actually, which means Krishna, right? Lord Krishna when he was baby. Tell me, Kana, what is bothering you? Okay, the mother is asking the baby. The child now got little bit relaxed because her mother is cajoling her, and now the baby got little bit relaxed and said ipunda, ipunda in her own way. Okay, and engrossed in crying again. She just said ipunda in her own way. You know how lovely, beautifully, and so affectionately and so cutely they express some words. No, small baby, she's just 2 years old. You can imagine ipunda, how she could have expressed. And she expressed that, she uttered that, and she started crying again. The clue is received anyway. None knows the meaning of Ipunda. What is that Ipunda? Nobody knows. The baby is telling in her own way. What is that Ipunda? Ipunda, no such word in Tamil. The child expanded and responds, Ipunda, I want Ipunda. Okay, so now that has been included in her crying, right? And what could it be? All started thinking, what precious object could wake her in that hour, untimely hour, and induce a ceaseless crying tantrum? What that must be, that Ipunda? All started thinking, scratching their heads. The boy from the neighboring house might have snatched it. Huh? Okay, so they started thinking in their own different way. The neighboring boy must have snatched that Ipunda thing, or the two women speculated and recalled all the objects the child played with during daytime. Two women, in the sense, who are all the two women, the grandmother party and the mother of the child. Okay, so these two started recollecting all the objects that the child played with during daytime. A set of miniature wooden toys, they remembered. A cup from the set, they remembered. They recalled a glass marble, all those things, but nothing was matching with Ipunda. What is that Ipunda? The women cannot comprehend the child's language in spite of spending all day with her. That's what this is the opinion by the father. These two women spend their time whole day, whole night with the baby, and they're not able to understand the baby's word. Okay, this is the irritation of the father. Father could vent his frustration on them. Okay, he can expose his frustration on these two women, but he cannot. Okay, he's controlling it, the father. His wife, for that, okay, you two women cannot comprehend the child's word. The response came all of a sudden from the wife. She retorted, your child asks random things and being informed is our only job. Okay, so she retorts aggressively. Your child asks random things, and do you think our only job is to be informed and to take care of the baby? Many other things also we have. The battle could pursue, but the father chose to console himself, mumbling. Okay, so he mumbled himself. He didn't tell it loudly. He mumbled himself. Why? Because the fight will definitely continue if he tells it louder. So what did he mumble inside? What else do you have? Looking after the child. Other than that, what else you have? He mumbled himself and continues to control the uh, irritation. He continues to control his turmoil. He felt a terrible headache. Okay, so the mother kept on asking, was it Uppukundan Kannu? The child affirmed. So finally, mother got the word. Ipunda, most probably Uppukundan. Okay, these are all Tamil words. I will tell you later what is Uppukundan. So, is it Uppukundan Kannu? The mother asked the child, and the child said, yeah, yeah. It nodded her head, affirmed. She exclaimed child's speech for the father. Okay, so the mother explained the child's word to the father, and child's reference was for a small bowl used to scoop the salt. Uppu kundan. Uppu, almost no? It is in almost all South Indian languages. Uppu is salt. Kundan is a bowl, right? So Uppu kundan is salt bowl, right? So it is child referred to the small bowl used to scoop the salt. It is normally buried in sugar tin. Okay, so actually Uppukundan, the bowl which is supposed to be kept in salt container, but it is not put inside the salt box, but it is put inside the sugar box, right? So that is why see, sometimes that happens in families. Sometimes some vessels are meant for salt, but they are used to take out the sugar. they are used for sugar. Like that, here also Upukundan is meant for salt, to scoop out the salt. But here in this family, it is that bowl is used to scoop out the sugar instead of salt. That happens, right? You must have been aware. So it is small bowl buried in sugar tin. Okay, so small bowl to take out the sugar in from the sugar tin, right? And all the lights were on in that hour, and the father fumed. He is so angry. Why would she give kitchen utensils to play with? Okay, so he's so angry. Why do you give? He's angry on his wife. Why do you give kitchen utensils to the child to play? And now the search began. Search for Upukundan, salt bowl, sugar container, salt bowl which is buried in sugar tin. Okay, so sugar container, you can say. They looked first in the cardboard box full of all her playthings, twigs, pieces of paper hidden. Okay, if it was daytime, the child wouldn't have allowed to touch all these things, but it is night, she's sleepy. Okay, but she's crying. That is why she's allowing, she's not caring that elders touching her things, her playthings. The mother described the bowl, how the bowl is made. The bowl is made of lead. Lead is a metal, you know it, and it is as wide as earthen lamp. Okay, earthen lamp in Deepavali and all lamps, earthen lamps will be lighted, no, on the threshold in front of the god, in the puja room, etc. So this much, a palm width lamp. Okay, earthen lamp sized container bowl it is made out of lead, and around 5 centimeters high. It is a small fissure near the mouth. So in the mouth and on the edge, a small fissure break is there. It is broken sugar container, that's all. Sugar bowl, that's all. For that it is crying in that midnight, wailing continuing. Okay, the child is continuously crying for Upukundan. How does the thin body have the energy to cry so much? Father is so amazed. She 2 years old in this, she is so thin. And how, where does the energy come from? From that thin body to cry a lot. Frustration. Mother twisted the child. Finally, frustrated mother got so frustrated. They didn't search the Upukundan, salt container. Okay, sugar container, salt container, both are okay, both are correct here. Actually, Upukundan is meant for salt, but here in this household, they have been using to scoop out the sugar. Okay, sugar container. Mother is so frustrated. She twisted the child's ear and asked, "Where have you dumped that damn thing? Tell me." Father wanted to grab the bald head of the child, dash it against the wall. Look at the frustration of the parents. He just told himself, he just consoled himself. He didn't do that anyway because it is his child. No? So he didn't do that. He is telling himself, consoling himself, let me cool. She is just a child. Child is not ill. So relieved. Otherwise, they would have had to trudge knocking at the doctor's door at that hour in the midnight. So that is a relieving thing. Party spoke very protectively in this aspect at that moment. Poor thing. She's sleepy. Don't beat her. Okay. She's so compassionate and patient towards the child at that hour when the mother is twisting the child's ear. The reason for remembering the bowl, what may be the reason? In dreams, some thief running away with it. She must have dreamt of a thief running away with the Upukundan. Child might have stashed the loving gift by angels in that bowl. Okay, so an angel came in her dream and gifted that bowl, right? So father regretted he didn't know the magic to summon these angels. So what is the regression of what is the regret of the father is regretting what he cannot summon, he cannot chant mantra and summon the angels down to search this bowl for our baby, for their baby. They searched with flashlight where electric lights couldn't reach. Okay, they searched the whole house, and some corners electric lights won't reach, and in those corners they are searched with searchlight. Wailing is increasing and increasing. The house was made upside down. They took out all the things and searching everywhere. Sleep weighed heavily on father's eyelids. It is already midnight and he's feeling sleepy, but he's not, he's not allowed to sleep. He became injured. Sorry, now he became inured to crying. He got used to crying now, because see, in the beginning it was a kind of irritation. After some time he gets used to it. Okay, and he could doze off with crying sound in ringing in his ears. Her hands found the bowl. Finally, the mother is searching and searching. Finally her hands touched something, some object. Okay, what was that? That was the bowl. Okay, the bowl in the little place between grinding stone and the wall. In the kitchen there was a grinding stone, okay, rubokallu, grinding stone, and the wall. In the mid, in between those two things, wall and the grinding stone, the bowl was there. Okay, upukundan was there. Now finally the mother found the object out. Child, she took it so relievedly and gave it to the child. The child received it as if it was made out of gold. Okay, her veil slowly morphed into gentle sobs, gradually sank into deep slumber. Okay, and next, yeah, this was the end of the short story, and this is the outline of the story. The primary purpose. What is the primary purpose to of the writer? The writer's primary purpose is to inform the readers how things of no importance become suddenly important due to circumstances. And here the tone is descriptive, explanatory, analyzing. Okay, very descriptive, very analyzing, and very explanatory, the tone. Okay, so step by step, very analytically he goes on describing the child's wailing. Parents, no matter how great, how low they are, they can be subverted by their infants crying. Okay, so that is proved in the story. The story inculcates the spirit of endurance and forbearance. It teaches the readers that it is better to go according to the children's ways and pacify them than punishing. If you punish, it is of no use. They are so innocent. They can't give back. Okay, they just endure the punishment. That is why patience is very important regarding the children, especially children's crying. Mirror of Innocence, the short story, is of childish tantrums overall, stubbornness, and parents' tolerance in the midst of irritability. In child's point of view, an ordinary cheap object occupied the place of importance. Okay, so these are the themes of our Mirror of Innocence, students. So with this, we have come to the end of the video, right? So let me recap whatever we saw in this video. Perumal Murugan, as a novelist, short story writer, and a scholar, he's a controversial writer, commercially successful writer in Tamil language. Okay, so he brings out marginalized characters to the center with touch of humanity. Mirror of Innocence actually is an extract from his short story collection, The Goat Thief. Okay, remember students, Mirror of Innocence is an extract from his short story collection called The Goat Thief. Okay, so here a small sugar container occupies the child's attention. That is the leitmotif of the story. It is narrated in simplistic, analyzing, captivating style. The girl child wakes up at night and starts crying constantly without giving any hints for the reason for crying. The elders are party, girl's father, girl's mother, try to figure out the reason, okay, by coaxing, cajoling the child who doesn't yield. In the midst of all this, father's frustration we see, mother's painstaking anxiety we see, we would also find party's protective, patient tackling of the situation. Okay, finally, the mother who succeeds in finding their ball, mother. The mother succeeds in eliciting the magical object of child's attention, Uppukundan. Okay, Uppunda, Uppukundan. The long speech for the object follows and ends in, long search for the object follows and ends in finding it. Mirror of Innocence as a whole is is the story of childish tantrums, stubbornness, parents' tolerance in the midst of irritability. In child's point of view, an ordinary cheap object like sugar container, Upukundan, occupy the place of importance. So this was our Mirror of Innocence contextual interpretation, students. Thank you all for listening to me. I am going to end the video.